Hello, welcome to a video lecture that I've prepared for you with some further thoughts on the Document Standards Manual assignment. Kind of a little bit of a how-to lecture, how I might proceed with this document, and also some examples, both professional and student examples. So one of the first things that I wanted to talk about was setting up this document. It is what we call a formal document. It has pagination in it, a table of contents. It has multiple sections. It has parts at the beginning of the document, generally before the table of contents, that we call front matter. And then it has, as I said, the body of the document. And then it has frequently at the end of the document some parts known as back matter. Um, so the front matter and the back matter, they can kind of in many ways substitute for the entire document, and they help to kind of contain, the body of the document. One of the things that makes this a formal document is that we have a table of contents and pagination in it. Um, I think I think it's with the proposal assignment, which we also do as a formal document. Um, an example in our text shows it as a memo, and a memo is more of an informal document. It does not have a cover, it does not have front matter and back matter and table of contents. So memos are good for in-house communication, and this is in-house communication, but this is a more formal document the way that we're approaching it. So because it's a more formal document, it has not only textual elements and intra-textual elements, but it also has what we might think of as extra textual elements that kind of, you know, weave their way through the entire document. Overall document design is one of those extra textual elements. It helps to hold the entire document together. There kind of needs to be a cohesion or cohesiveness with the document. And so there are some things that we can do fairly easily in a Word document. And I've got some of them listed here. Setting up a cover page, setting up headers and footers, using the styles palette, going into document setup, and then I'm going to talk about creating a table of contents, but also show you that there is a table of contents feature in Microsoft Word. And I really don't use it much myself, so you'd have to kind of figure it out on your own. But some of these elements, once you get those kind of set up, you'll feel this, cohesion with this document, even though there's no real content yet. And so that has a sense of satisfaction and a sense of overall purpose in this document. And then we're going to set it up with the table of contents, all the different parts laid out, and then we're going to set up different pages for those different parts, and we're going to engage or basically set up a document so we can kind of jump around in the document and work on different parts of it. It's a very difficult document to write from start to finish, and so kind of helps to be able to kind of break it up and go at it in sections and in chunks. So let me talk about some of these features in Microsoft Word that we can use in kind of setting up the document and creating an overall feel or ethos through document design. Okay, so when you go into Microsoft Word, I want to show you some of the kind of design features in Microsoft Word. Typically, when you go into Microsoft Word, you'll get kind of this window at the beginning asking you if you want to do it from a new document or from a template. And so I just did this from a new document. But I also want to show you that if you go from a template, and much of this depends on the different version of Word that you have, you can see some design templates that are available in Microsoft Word. So I've seen business report, I could probably turn that into a document standards manual. Basically, it's got a cover, it's going to have a table of contents, and it's going to kind of have a template for main pages throughout. So I see a proposal, business report, another report, so some others, and I guess I had typed in proposal before. Let me just take that out. And you could type in manual, but you can also kind of scroll through and see what's available. Here's a journal, and so I think that you could work with that. Basically, that's going to have a cover. Probably may or may not have a table of contents, and then it's going to have a setup for regular entries. A brochure, I kind of think that's going to be kind of small. We might need something bigger than that. A newsletter, I think you could set this up as a document standards manual. Paper with cover and table of contents. That seems to be right up our alley. We want a cover. We want to be able to put in a table of contents. Okay, a trip journal. And, okay, so you could choose to pick out one of these. Let me go ahead and let's go with this one, cover and table of contents. Okay, so a couple of things I'm noticing. You know, we have this nice title page here, pretty simple. Could even include some more design elements at the top and bottom. But anything that you see in one of these templates, you can replace it. So title, obviously you're going to select that text and replace it with your own title. Same thing with the subtitle. Author, and then the image. This is just a placeholder image, so replace it with an image that you think would be more appropriate. Okay, so we also see a color scheme going on here with black and orange, or this reddish color. And you might also notice that up here in the toolbar, we're also seeing this design scheme being represented here with what's called the styles palette or styles panel or styles pane. Depends. And depends on what version of Word you have. And so basically you'll notice in different documents, different templates and such, that you have this styles palette available to you. You have it in just a regular document as well. And so here's my other document that I already had open, and so there's the styles palette up there. Not as much pop as we're getting in this other document. This is pretty conservative, I would say. But going back to this document, and then I open the styles panel on the side, you can use this to your advantage. And if you think of, okay, I'm going to have a title for the overall document. So document standards manual, subtitle is going to be my organization, and whatever you want to put down here. So replace this image. And as we go down, table of contents, so we have that handy for us. And going down, we see different things that they're letting us use. Emphasis and heading 1, heading 2, a quote. Basically, this is body text. So they're suggesting a template here for this document. And you can change any of this. So if you're doing something for Westchester University, you might say, I don't like black and red. I want purple and gold. And so you would go up here into each of these styles that they've set up here: title, subtitle, author, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and you would just modify it. So you say, you know what, I don't like black, I want purple instead. So so let me go ahead and do that, purple. And what it's going to do is everywhere in this document where we've selected some text and assigned it to a particular style, it's going to change all of those instances of that. So everything there should be only one overall title and one overall subtitle. But as we get down into heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, we're going to be reusing those again and again. And so if you assign the different styles, this is basically textual markup, then you don't have to go through, if you decided to change the formatting for heading 3, you don't have to go through and find every instance of heading 3 and change that manually. You can go into the styles palette and change it, and it'll change it throughout the entire document. So you can also go in, and now that I went up here and I modified title through the modify thing, sometimes you're just kind of on the fly and you say, you know what, I'm going to make this, okay, I'm going to make this gold. So I didn't select a style up here. It's saying now the current style is subtitle plus because I did something different with it. But now I could go up to wherever the subtitle is up here. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, there it is right there. It was already selected. And I could say update subtitle to match selection. And so now it's kind of applying the style to the styles palette, whereas before I kind of applied the style from the styles palette. So, okay. And then I could go through and set up my document, give it an overall feel. I think I mentioned about headings and headers and footers. So I'm just going to click up here in this area, and there's some additional parameters here about first page header section 2, same as previous. I'm going to talk about those a bit later, but just notice that I'm in a header field here, and we can also set up some of that. So I could go to header and footer. Under header over here, there are some suggested styles here, and it looks like they're keeping with the same color scheme. So, but you would just find one that you liked and apply it. So let me go up here to the top somewhere. So maybe I'll choose this, and document title. So now it's Document Standards Manual. The square brackets are just showing that this is a suggested title within. You wouldn't keep the square brackets. And then you could say, instead of date, you could put 2019 or something up there. This one doesn't exactly match this color scheme that we've been dealing with the red and the black. So this is another chance to show you something a little different here, is with the styles. I think it's here under design, and it'll vary in your particular version of Word how this works. But under design, you see that there are some other options here, and they're changing the design of this document. Heading 1, 2, 3. Let me go back here. Whoops. We'll go over here. So there's heading 1, 2, 3. They're down the middle now. And over here, heading 1, 2, 3. Doesn't look as sophisticated in this layout here. And heading 1, 2, 3. So basically I'm choosing different themes from up here. And here's another place that we can format it. You can see that it changes the color in this particular header. It also changed this entire color styles palette up here. We can also just change colors from here. So I can choose that blue, and it changes throughout the entire styles palette. This is green, Don't know if we had anything that was more red and black. Where we were earlier, red, orange. Nah, not really. Okay. So, and we're giving this document, as I said, an overall feel. I can also just decide to change the fonts, and it also changes it throughout the styles palette. So, multiple ways of working with things that are already in Word to kind of give your document an overall feel. This did show up on page 1. I'll come back and talk about that later, about how to set up a different page 1. And looks like it's only appearing on the first page of different sections. So let me come back and talk about that as well. But you can kind of see how you can set up a styles palette, a feel, a template, an ethos for your document. And it gives you a sense of accomplishment just doing that before you've written any text. So now, at this point, I'm going to talk about setting up a table of contents, and then through that table of contents, we're going to set up different pages for each section, and then you can fill those in. So give me just a second to set up this table of contents. Okay, I'm in another document that I wanted to work with. I had it open a little bit before. I didn't do anything with it, but we saw this, rather conservative styles palette up here. One of the things I forgot to show you under design, and maybe it's not in my particular, let's see, it's under insert, I'm sorry. So I'm on the first page of this document, and I can actually go to insert cover page. And I can look at these different options that I have available to me and choose one of those. Some of those are not too exciting, so I think you can go onto office.com or something and get something better. But let me choose this one, and let me zoom out just a little bit. Okay. So this is a cover. I would change this document title to Document Standards Manual, and then the name of the organization, and then you can have a little blurb about it, and then it's got my name in here, and then you put your title, Communications Director, or something like that. The image, again, is just suggestive, so you can replace that with another image. And the color scheme, basically the palette, is also just suggestive. So if you want to, you can go in and change some of those things. I think that's under design. But anyway, there is the cover, and so I did insert cover page. That also helps with the overall feel of the document. Gives you a sense of accomplishment. You haven't had to work too hard in terms of composing text yet. So so far. Not too laborious, just kind of design and putting things together. So, okay, so let me go over to this next page here, and I'll do my, is it layout or design? Header and footer. So I'll pick one of these. Up here, this is going to be my document title, and I'm going to do a footer as well to match that as much as possible. Let me just go with this down here. So, and then here on this document, I'm going to do a table of contents, and I'm going to go back up and select this. So if this is title over here, document title, then I'm going to say this is heading 1. Doesn't seem very big, so I think what I might do is go in and modify. And let's go with something a little bigger. Okay, so so I modified that particular style. So now anytime I use heading 1, it'll be this new style. Okay, so I'm going to start putting in our contents. Some of these things you can put before the table of contents, some of them after. By the way, quick quiz. What is the page number for the table of contents itself? The table of contents does not have a page number. So everything before the table of contents tends to be in little Roman numerals, and everything after the table of contents tends to be in what we call Arabic numerals. So, so the contents that we know that we have this message from the president, something like that. And so a couple of things that I can do here. Basically, I could type in all of the contents. But what I want to do, and what is kind of tricky that we want to do with this table of contents, is I want to put in what are called dot leaders and then page numbers on the far right end of the page. And in order to do that, I have to set up some tab stops in this document. And so a couple of them one of them is a left aligned tab stop, and another one is a right aligned tab stop. So by default in Microsoft Word, the tab stops, if you haven't set them up, they're set at every half inch. So you can see the cursor moving there. And but when we start setting up the tab stops, then that overrides those particular settings. Also, basically this line of text, a message from the president, we can treat it like a paragraph, and we're going to format this first paragraph, and then every paragraph, so to speak, after that will be formatted exactly the same. So, but what I could do otherwise is, instead of setting up these tab stops here, I could type in my contents, message from the president, company overview, and mission statement. And then basically, I would select all of these paragraphs, even though they're single lines of text, select them together and format them together. And then that would set up my dot leaders that way. So, so let me show it to you the first way. So, message from the president. And then let me zoom in a little bit on this. Okay, so tab stops currently set at every half inch, and I want to change the tab stops. So I want to drop a couple of tab stops in here. And I know that when I get down into my internal communication and external communication, that I'm actually going to want to nest those subsections within there. So I am going to jump over half an inch for that. So I'm going to put in my first tab stop at 1/2 inch. And so if you go up here, a couple of ways of doing this. I have to be in that line of text that I'm working with, that paragraph. My cursor is flashing in there. And in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, there are different tab stop up here. The default is a left-aligned tab stop, and I'm going to use that one. I'm also going to use the right-aligned tab stop. You could also highlight the paragraph of text and do Format, Paragraph, and then you see tabs down here in the corner. And then you could set them up there. I could say 0.5, as my first tab stop. And it showed up right there. So that's another way of putting them in. But what I was going to do the first time is, if you click in this ruler up here, you can put your tab, you can drop them in, and then you can adjust them left and right. So you have to be able to see the ruler. So you do have to go to the, I think it's the view tab here and turn on a ruler. So, but anyway, I dropped in a tab stop here. It's a left tab. Another tab stop here. It's a left tab. I don't really need this one. I'm just going to pull it off the ruler and it's gone. So I also want to put one down here at the far right, and that's going to align my page numbers together. So I make sure I've still got my paragraph selected, and I'm going to turn this around until it's a backwards facing arrow. And just going to go down here on the ruler and drop it in. There it is at about 6 1/4 something inches. And I'm going to grab it and drag it to 6 1/2, which is the right hand margin. And so I've got a tab stop here at 1/2 inch. It's a left aligned tab stop. A tab stop at 6 1/2 inches. It's a right aligned tab stop. I do need to still go in and format my tabs. So I can do format paragraph and go to tabs, or I can go format tabs. And for the 0.5, we can see it's left aligned, no dot leader. For the 6.5, we can see that it's right aligned, and I'm going to add in this dot leader here and say OK. So now I'm at the message for the president. I hit the tab key, and that's page 1. And so now any paragraph that I create below that, it's going to have the same formatting applied to it. So people think this is not a big deal. They think, oh, I'm just going to hold down on the period key until it gets over there. But you'll never get it exactly right because of the way the spacing is between the letters and whatnot. And so if you do it this way, it'll always be exactly right. So, okay, so that I did it one way by typing it, one paragraph basically, and formatting that, and then formatting, and then repeating that. Here's the second way, is I've already got maybe my table of contents listed down the right-hand side, and I can just select these paragraphs this way, and then go, again, drop in some tab stops on the ruler, left aligned and right aligned tab stops, or again, formatting. Let's just try to go straight to tabs this time. We'll do one at 0.5. Click OK. And want to do another one, format tabs. And I'm going to do a plus sign here, 6.5. Right aligned with a dot leader. Click OK. So now both of these paragraphs are set up that way too. So, and this is the way that I prefer to set up the table of contents in this document. There is, I think it's under reference, a table of contents tool in Microsoft Word. I haven't used it much, so you're welcome to do it yourself. You can also customize table of contents down here. So do with that what you will. And so now that I've got my table of contents going here, I want to continue to fill it out. And then I want to go, so let's say I'm somewhere here. I don't want to just hit enter, enter, enter until I get to the next page, because I'm going to be putting content on these pages, and that's going to mess up where the next page begins. But basically what I want to do is insert a page break. And there are a couple of ways of doing it. I can do it from insert up here at the top, insert break, page break. You can also do it from the insert, and then you get different types. That's where we got our cover page, insert page break. So now I'm under this, and I want to set up a message from the president. Where is our styles palette? This should be heading 1. Okay. And it goes back to normal after I get past that. Another page break. And I'm just going to do it from up here. page break. And so company overview. And again, I'm going to make that a heading 1. Get down here a little bit. It goes back to normal text. Insert another page break. And then this is going to be our mission statement. And highlight that. Make that a heading 1. And back here. And so I'm going to repeat this process again and again and again. And I'm going to go to page break. And this is going to be internal communications. And so then under that, maybe you're going to have a page to talk about internal communications. But then we're going to have to drop down a level to heading 2, because then internal communications is a major section, and then everything within that will have to drop down 1 on the hierarchy. And then we're going to have external communications, and then we're going to have the so-called back matter of this document. So let me go back to my notes and talk about this a little bit. But basically what I was trying to show you is that once you get your, let me see, view, multiple pages. Once you get your cover and table of contents set up, even though it's really incomplete, it has this feeling of cohesiveness with it. So it's already starting to take shape, and we haven't written anything for it yet. And now, with these different pages that have different headings on them, you can jump in and work on this section, and then jump around and work on different sections. Not sure how I got my header screwed up on that page, but anyway, and develop it through those different means. So okay, so what I wanted to do was go back to my notes, and I may have to break this into a couple of different presentations, but let me go back and cover what I've covered and figure out where I'm going to go next. So let me come back. Okay, so I realized that one of the things I forgot to talk about is the document setup. So I believe it's under File, no, it's under Format, Document, and there's some things that you can do in there as well. So margin, layout, some of these things we'll talk a little bit more about apply to whole document or from this point forward. Page setup, we don't have much to really talk about there. And layout, and a couple of things to talk about here is sometimes if you're doing a book or something, you might do different odd and even pages. And sometimes when you're thinking about different sections, like different chapters, sometimes you want to treat the first page a bit differently, and so you can do different first page. And this will apply when we start getting into page break, new section, and then you'll have a different first page for that section. So, okay. So I think that's about it there. Let me go back to my notes. Okay, so we talked about creating a feel and ethos for the document and using overall document design. And we talked about many of these Microsoft Word features, inserting the cover page. We also talked, I guess I don't have it here in terms of using templates that are available to you in your version of Word or through office.com. Headers and footers, that ties the different pages together, within the overall document or within different sections. The styles palette, we talked about how to work with that. I just got through talking about using document setup, and also talked about creating a table of contents by hand or using the table of contents format within Microsoft Word. So I think I've gone on for quite a bit, and I should probably wrap this up and edit it. But let me jump ahead a little bit. Okay, so basically what I wanted to do after this was talk about what's considered front matter and the body and back matter in this document. So I'll put that in a different lecture. And then I was going to talk about professional examples, which I've linked up through D2L, and some student examples, which I can't share with you. I can't link them up because that's a privacy issue. But I will anonymize them, take their names off of them, and show you those examples. And the only way you'll be able to see those is through this video lecture and not be able to, you know, access the documents themselves. So let me save that for another lecture. Let me wrap up what I've got here, and I'll be coming back and expanding on the latter part of this lecture. All right, thank you very much.